So, Mel, we don't really talk about the coming out process. We'd like to have a chat about it.
Yeah, it'd be nice because sometimes people think that you just come out once and it's done, it's over and done with, you should just move on.
So, you don't come out just once.
No, far from it. You come out practically at every new transition in your life. There's that coming out feeling where you have to decide if you want to come out, should you come out, is it safe to come out, do you even need to? I mean, if you're going to a new workplace and you're going to be staying there for an amount of time, everyone's talking about their partners, it's difficult for you to not have to come out. So in reality, it's not just a process that might happen when you're a teenager, for example, or maybe later in life as well. It's something that keeps on happening, and it's not easy every single time.
That sounds like a very frustrating situation to be in, almost, because I don't know, as heterosexual is almost like it's a given. Like no one asks someone, "Oh, look, you're this. Oh, look, you're that." It's almost like it's taken for granted almost, no? And then
the norm.
for someone who identifies as a homosexual, it's almost like he or she needs to identify himself constantly all the
At every
time.
single step. I mean, of course, when we speak about coming out, we're not just including homosexuality, we're also including transgender people who might need to reveal their identity if, their papers don't reveal the identity they are. So it can cause a lot of confusion. So it's very frustrating, as you said, because every time you go through this almost overthinking phase where you start wondering, okay, do I need to, do I have to? But what will they say? You start to analyze their conversations. You start to hear, okay, do they use certain slurs that might show that they're homophobic and they won't accept me? Do they ask me specifically about, if I'm a female, about my boyfriend or my husband? Or do they go more about your partner or your girlfriend or boyfriend? I don't know what you have. So it can be quite daunting to go through that process. And then once you figure that out, and you say, okay, let me say I'm going to come out. Then that's the process again of how and when. Do I get everyone in a room and announce it? Do I tell people one-to-one? Do I sort of throw it into a conversation and say, my partner, who is, she is this, and sort of use pronouns as a way of indicating that I'm in a relationship with another female? There's a lot of thinking involved, and that can cause a lot of anxiety as well.
Of course, and from what I understand, it's quite a process to come out with it in itself, no? And if you say you have to come out in every new transition in your life, such as a new work, a new locality, a new whatever, in any new situation, you have to do this. New friends.
If you go out and you meet someone new.
So there tends to be a process, from what a little bit I know, that first the individual tends to not want to tell anyone, and is kind of a bit scared, and then there's this process where, okay, maybe the person starts to think about the idea, okay, maybe I should tell someone, or just maybe just one person, and see how they would react in that new environment. And obviously, if people are very homophobic in that work environment, then what happens? There tends to be this internalized homophobia, we call it. I don't know if you actually have heard about it and maybe experienced it. I don't know.
Yeah, actually. It's that sort of feeling where you feel like you're wrong. And sometimes you might even think it about other people who are same as you, to other homosexuals. Like, I hate people who are flamboyant. Or do gay people really have to show that they're gay to everyone? Okay. But in reality, I am that person as well. I want people to know. I might be open, I want to be flamboyant, but I restrain myself, because if I am, then I'm acting out as the person that I think I hate.
Okay.
So it's look at that process, look at that level of anxiety, look at that thoughts process.
So what you're saying is internalized homophobia means that because people are expressing their negative attitudes towards people who are homosexual, that as a homosexual individual, the individual hates the person who they are, basically. So it's quite a process to get out of that, and to move on and to express this in society.
Because how can you actually come out properly and suitably to people if you can't even come out to yourself? Essentially, like, that you're gay, but you hate those kind of people. You're not that kind of gay. You're not that kind of gay person. You're not that kind of transgender person. And it's like, okay, we know who apparently you're not, but you're too ashamed to say who you really are, because you don't want to be associated with those either. So you're totally rejecting part of your community, essentially, which isolates you even more, because the people in the media, for example, they're flamboyant. So you refrain from being part of that community because you don't want to be seen as flamboyant. You don't want to be around those people. You isolate yourself more and more and more, which can just mess with you.
It sounds like it's such a process, and I mean, it's almost shocking for me to hear that someone, just because of their sexuality, has to do all of this.
I know that thinking when it's something that is so natural that everyone has a sexuality, but we don't talk about it when it's a heterosexual sexuality.
Yeah. It's for granted, no?
It's for granted. It is like if someone looks at you, they will say, do you have a girlfriend? They would never think of asking, do you have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Or do you want either or, for example. It doesn't occur. And we went through, for example, an extreme where people are blatantly, openly homophobic, but then there's that subtle homophobia. People who say, oh no, I am in favor of gays, I accept gays, I tolerate gays, but I don't want to see it. I still use gay slurs, for example. I'm not going to mention them here. But those are subtle ways of being homophobic where outwardly you're pretending to be accepting, and possibly on a level you are. I'm not saying you're not. But you use certain language that can be very hurtful to someone around you who maybe is not out yet.
Almost like passive aggressiveness.
Exactly. Okay. And you might not direct it to the person, you're saying it in general, but you're using a slur as something bad.
Okay.
You know, like, this, you're so gay, for example, which is like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you say it in a way that means it's bad. So if this person hasn't come out yet, what messages are they receiving?
Of course.
They're saying, I probably, shouldn't come out to this person because they see it as something negative. But then you get this mixed message where, they tell you, because my cousin is gay. And you say, okay, so they have a gay cousin, they're going to do cousin's wedding, but then they use "you're so gay" as something negative, and they use other worse slurs sometimes.
Do you think they do it intentionally, though?
No, I think it's subconscious. I think it's this, we're so used to using certain offensive language. That's why I said, on some level, I'm sure these people aren't homophobic, but we need to accept as well that certain language is homophobic. So by using the language, I am perpetuating that stereotype, that homophobia, which affects the people around you.
That's so true. So what tips would you give maybe to individuals to help them maybe in the process of coming out?
I think first things first is try as much as possible to be okay with yourself. Okay. It is normal, it is natural. It's not something you can change or do something to change. And find your community.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying forget everyone else in your life and only find people like you, but it helps to find people who are similar to you. Okay. That way you actually feel normal. Okay. You're not the only gay unicorn. Okay. There are others around you, and there's still rainbows, and they're colorful, and it's great. Okay. And you can still have other friends who are straight, who are cisgender, and it's fine because you have a mix and match. But at least have a community of people who really for sure understand the process. So
what you're saying is that it's okay and it's normal, and to actually find people in your community, even if it's just one person for you to bond with and to integrate in order to help you as an individual, to consolidate your identity, we call it.
Exactly. And at the same time, in retrospect as well, if you are a straight person or a cisgender person, but you know or love someone who is gay or trans, join your own similar community as well, of other supporters, other allies, other people. That way even you get to understand better your own experiences as someone who has to accept that someone around them is in a way a bit different, but also the positive side of it, and to increase your own community. Thanks a lot, man. It was a pleasure. It was a great conversation. Thanks. I love this. Thanks.